brought out, a couple months ago was electricity, and how, each day, if we don't charge our phones each day, they're going to die. My phone doesn't last more than a day. I don't know what your guys' or our laptops or things like that. So if you think about that in a spiritual sense, if we need to charge our phones every day, then how much more do we need to charge our spiritual beings every day? How we need to be in constant, plugged in constantly to Jesus and plugged in constantly to Him and His Word. One thing I heard was like the term prayer warrior. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that term before, but it's a cool term, but it's in its completeness. We should be more than prayer warriors. We should be prayer, like building our relationships in prayer for everything, not just in war. There's actually there's this one thing online. Let me read it to you guys. It's really cool. And it says, is war the best metaphor for prayer? On my daughter's 21st birthday, cherishing the time we had together, and the joy it has come will continue to bring me, I have a question about our life and communication with God. Is it all about war? Prayer warriors is a term that comes up a lot in conversation, referencing, of course, the spiritual warfare language of Paul from Ephesians 6 and other scriptures. But in a reflective conversation this morning with a man who knows something about the life of prayer, we wound up reconsidering how to frame our communication with God. Wondering, as we often do, the small number of participants at various prayer events, we wondered around the various metaphors scriptures using to describe our relationship with God. Father-child is used far more than the general private. The conversation of Abba Father, intimacy, is vastly different from the destroy the enemy conversation. Enoch walked with God and was not. The Eden experience was an experience of walking into the garden of the cool of the evening. The Moses on the mountain conversation was a make your face glow kind of being together. And the fruit of walking with the spirit of which I assume conversation is a big piece results in amazing things. Love, joy, peace, patience. Why don't we say prayer gardeners or prayer walkers or prayer caretakers? You couldn't even take the conversation of Jesus and his followers, or between Jesus and those who are seeking him, as metaphors for prayer life. If prayer isn't primary laundry list asking for what I want, but is instead rooted in seeking relationship with God, perhaps prayer warrior may not always be as helpful as overarching for the whole enterprise. If I went into every communication with my wife through the lens of war, no, this is a guy online, how often would I want to talk? There are certainly times when war is in on our lives, but basically he's saying, in war, people are yelling or people are fighting, but being a prayer warrior, you're not always going to be fighting with God. You're not always going to be contending, but you're just going to be thankful and you're going to be in fellowship. And that's just kind of what this excerpt is trying to say. So we shouldn't always think of it as going to prayer and thinking of it as war, because it is a war, but we should always be thinking of it in every sense, as a relationship builder, as a war room, as everything. And just like this is the last question I have for you guys, or just the little statement that says, I ask you to check yourselves in your prayer life. In the last couple of weeks, I've been trying to check myself. So, as your guys' friend, I just want to check you guys' selves in your prayer life and just ask yourself, is this the relationship that I want with the Lord, where I'm walking right now? And then Dad has a few things that he wants to end with.